All right. Hello, live stream. Welcome to day 2 of Civic Media Mornings. They haven't taken us off the air yet.
Honest talk, real stories, and straight up news that matters to you. Tune in to The Rick Smith Show. We're digging into the issues that affect your job, your family, your future. Join me weeknights at 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network because your voice deserves to be heard. That's The Rick Smith Show. Heard weeknights at 9 right here on the Civic Media Radio Network.
I'm Brandy Grayson, the host of the Black Conversion Show on
15 seconds until we're back.
Martinson, and I am joined by...
I'm Brian Noonan. Good morning, and welcome to the Civic Media Morning Show.
That's
Day
right.
2.
They didn't pull us off the air. That's a good thing.
No. We're on a roll now. We had 120 minutes in the book. Let's throw another 120 in there and
we got this.
See what's up.
We got this. So if you had a chance to join us yesterday, you know that this is our longer-term, temporary morning show while we rebuild some things on Civic Media. If you're just joining us for the first time today, well, we are certainly glad that you are here, and thank you so much for finding us. We appreciate it. I got to tell you, we got a full itinerary of stuff we are talking about today, Brian. I mean, we're going to
talk about what's going on in Minnesota.
Yes.
For one thing.
Yep. Yeah,
what else
absolutely. Oh, let's see. I'm going kind of looking at my list here. We've got we're going to discuss Judge Hannah Dugan. She resigned over the weekend, so we'll discuss that a little bit. It's also the anniversary of January 6th, so we've got to talk about what happened 5 years ago at the Capitol building. It was an insurrection, and we're going to give our thoughts on that. And then, of course, we want to hear your thoughts this morning as well. I'll give you that phone number in just a moment. Phone number, text number. We'll let you choose how you want to talk to us this morning. And then, of course, we're also going to talk about this really awful flu season that we are in Wisconsin right now, and in good parts of the country, too. We've got an expert who's going to tell us what we need to know around 7:30 this morning, I believe.
That sounds about right, 7:35. He'll be joining us. And then, this is Jamie. I don't know if you're as excited about this as I am. Our executive producer, Frank, has come up with a game. I don't know if there will be wagering involved. I don't know if there's prizes, but Frank has a game that we're going to play before we get out of here this morning.
All right. I love that. Well, we're already getting some messages in on social media this morning.
Already?
Julie's chiming in. Yeah, she says, good morning. They are stressed out here in the state of Minnesota. So I think that's probably a good jumping off point.
Exactly.
So Tim Walz resigning. No, well, not resigning, not seeking re-election. Let me rephrase that this morning.
And there is a big difference because if you're not from Minnesota, you might not know this. If you're not delving past headlines, you're thinking, oh, he's leaving right away. No, he's going to be governor until next January. That's when his term is up. He has just decided to not seek re-election. And in the wake of that announcement, Senator Amy Klobuchar has said, well, then I would like to be the governor of Minnesota. So she's been a long-time senator up there, and we'll see.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because there's a widening scandal happening in Minnesota over fraud in the social services program throughout the state. And this is what he is saying has basically persuaded him to drop out. His administration and Walz himself has been criticized for his failure and their failure to prevent all of this widespread fraud. And obviously, there's been news about Minnesota daycares over the last few weeks, you know, with from Washington, D.C., taking on the cases of the Somali daycares. But really, you and I were talking about this a little bit before we went on the air, and this feels... I love Tim Walz, right? But if he's going to step out, this feels like a win-win for Minnesota? Because
It sure
Klobuchar
does.
doesn't give up her Senate seat, right?
No,
If
she can
decides
run
to
without resigning. And then if she were to win, she can appoint somebody to take her seat, whether it's Tim Walz or another Democrat. They could do that. And like I said, Tim Walz isn't leaving for another year. So, there's Minnesota seems like it will be staying under Democratic leadership.
Yes.
There's a lot of, there is the scandal, and Tim Walz is taking, whether you could look at it and say, okay, he could probably win if he stayed and fought. But in his statement the other day, he said, quote, "I came to the conclusion that I can't give a political campaign my all. Every minute I spend defending my own political interests would be a minute I can't spend defending the people of Minnesota against the criminals who prey on our generosity and the cynics who prey on our differences." That was Tim Walz in his statement. And that makes sense. It's like, okay, I've done this. I ran for vice president. I was governor of Minnesota for 2 terms. Now I can just work. I don't have to worry about reelection. He can just do his job.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm being told by our fantastic producers, Parker, that we actually have a clip of Walz on what he had to say about dropping out. So let's go ahead and hear from Walz himself.
In September, I announced that I would seek a historic 3rd term as Minnesota's governor, and I have every confidence that if I gave it my all, we would win the race. But as I reflect on this moment with my family and my team over the holidays, I came to the conclusion that I can't give a political campaign my all. Every minute that I spend defending my own political interest would be a minute I can't spend defending the people of Minnesota against the criminals who prey on our generosity and the cynics who want to prey on our differences.
I mean, yeah, that pretty much sums it up. And don't you think, too, it feels like there might be a little bit more to this. We know that Walz's family has been under attack. And there's been threats against his family, both his daughter, his son, his wife. So don't you feel like this is maybe in the back of his mind some safety for his own family? I mean, I'd be concerned.
Of course. They've been through a lot, just like any candidate for national office or even statewide office. But once it moves from the usual, this guy can't do the job and blah, 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 the usual campaign rhetoric, and moves into your family's safety, you have to reconsider. And I think it's it goes to, a lot of people have talked about Tim Walz's character. He comes across as a decent guy. My brother lives in St. Paul, and when he was running for vice president, not my brother, Tim Walz, I asked him, well, what do you think of your governor? And my brother liked him very much. And that seems to be, unless you're on the other side of the aisle, that seems to be the overwhelming feeling. So this sounds like something he would do, put his family in front of his own political and professional goals.
You and I were talking a little bit before we went on air today. We lived in the state of Minnesota for around 5-6 years. And every year the Republicans had hopes and dreams of taking back the governorship, the House, the Senate. And, there are parts of Wisconsin or of Minnesota that do vote very red, right?
Sure.
If you want to look at it versus red versus blue. But overall, I think it was probably safe that no matter who picks up in this particular seat, there's a good chance that person becomes governor of Minnesota. Mike Lindell, even if he wants to give away free pillows, I don't think that's going to work out too much for him.
I'm surprised. I'll be honest. I'm surprised Mike Lindell could run for any public office after everything he's been.
I don't know
all
how
his
any
legal
of that
troubles.
works. So many questions. We need more Howard
understand.
Schwabers on the air. Like he joined us yesterday to talk about constitutionality of things if you were able to join us. And we need more of that because there's too many questions. We actually have Cindy from Appleton on the phone, and she's got some comments about Governor Walz. If you want to get in on this discussion now or later this morning, we'd love to hear from you. 1-855-752-4842, 1-855-75-CIVIC. And so let's see what Cindy has to say. Good morning, Cindy. You wanted to chime in on Governor Walz.
Well, I just don't understand why we as a nation allow the Republicans to destroy lives and destroy careers, because basically that's what they're doing with Tim Walz. He might come out of this smelling like a rose, but another case in point is Judge Dugan, who's just lost her career over this stupid ICE thing from the Republicans. I just don't know why we allow this kind of stuff to happen to people who are good people.
And thank you for the call this morning,
thanks.
Cindy. We appreciate it. It's a good point. We see, I don't want to do the one side versus the other thing, but at the same time, we do see Democrats step down in cases like this, right? Al Franken's a perfect example if we want to go back a few years, right?
Maybe the new Minnesota governor will reappoint him.
Right? It could be Klobuchar.
Well, when
who
you
knows?
look at what Al Franken resigned over, it is laughingly mild compared to a lot of things that are happening now. There
Yes.
you go. Wow. And I don't know what it is about Democrats, if it's weakness, if it's just the don't rock the boat mentality, if it's the long gone ideal of saying, well, we don't want to cause a distraction in the administration. They don't want to fight. They don't want to stand up and get their hands dirty. And for better or worse, Republicans are like, well, we're going to fight till the end. And whatever the outcome, we're taking it to the mats. And the Democrats, we see it now with strongly worded letters or a nice statement. Well, that's very nice and high and mighty, and it doesn't work.
And it's interesting because Al Franken was a very particular case, but you look at what happened with Republican congressmen or women, where they end up in these same sorts of scandals and they have to be persuaded to leave office, and sometimes they don't. And it's like we're giving them some sort of pass to be awful human beings, but Democrats hold themselves to a different standard, right?
But isn't there also the burden of, just because somebody makes an allegation against you doesn't mean you're guilty. I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. Sometimes you have to prove it. Now, I understand to a point I don't want to be the one who causes a distraction, but I also begrudgingly can admire somebody going, hey, if you've got something against me, you got to prove it, because I'm not leaving until they make me leave.
Right.
And,
right.
I don't agree with a lot of the people who've made those fights, but I do admire that mentality that I'm staying until you can prove that I did wrong and you get me out of here.
Yeah.
Because I'm not just walking away.
And I'm looking at our social media comments this morning. Somebody chiming in from Lakeville, Minnesota, saying that it is Republican Central, but she says that they're chipping away at that one protest, one conversation, and one counter protester, and one school board seat at a time. I love that. Because that's what it takes. That's what it takes. And our local governments are where we can start making the most incremental changes. They are the ones that are going to affect you most on your daily life.
Yes.
All of this national stuff, it's going to anger you. You're going to get upset, but we're your local government where you can start making the most incremental changes every single day.
Focus on those races, the school boards, your mayor, your township representatives, all of that. Because like you said, Jamie, and you're absolutely right, those are the people you're going to run into every day. That's how how your life is actually going to be affected nonstop.
Absolutely. If you want to get in on this conversation this morning, 1-855-752-4842. When we come back, we are going to talk, Cindy alluded to it, Judge Hannah Dugan, she resigned. Should she have done it? Should she have not? Should she have hung in there? The GOP was going to impeach. We'll give our thoughts right here on the Civic Media Radio Network. It is 6:19. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu, an elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Do unauthorized immigrants have constitutional rights? Yes. The U.S. Constitution says no person may be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process, and no state may deny any person equal protection under the law. The Supreme Court has ruled these protections apply to all people in the U.S., not just citizens, though citizens have additional rights. Due process generally requires a fair chance to contest government action, such as an arrest. More than 100 federal judges have questioned or blocked Trump administration immigration detentions as unlawful. Citizens alone have rights, such as voting. I'm Trisha Young for Wisconsin Watch. Fact briefs are bite-sized fact checks of trending claims produced by Wisconsin Watch and GigaFact. Read more at wisconsinwatch.org.
Doctors Without Borders is delivering life-saving medical care where it's needed most in communities around the world. From bandaging war-wounded patients in Sudan to providing clean drinking water in Haiti, we're in more than 70 countries worldwide, bringing patients from sick to recovering, from emergency to aid, from crisis to care. This life-saving care is made possible by a global movement of supporters like you. Thank you.
We are the National Park Foundation, and together with you, we're creating a future where every person, every generation, gets their chance at an unforgettable moment.
15 seconds till we're back.
Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us on the Civic Media Radio Network. It is 6:22 right now. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan, and we've been hearing about this story for a while. Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan made it official on Saturday that she is resigning her post. She sent a letter to Governor Tony Evers, said that the action came with a quote-unquote heavy heart, and the registration took immediate effect. So,
yeah,
there's that fight again. Except this time, she had been found guilty in court.
Yes,
and so now it was all right. I was indicted. I was found guilty. Now, do I stay on the bench while I'm appealing and fighting this? Because she also said that she is going to pursue this. She's going to try to have these convictions overturned, but the distraction would be too much, and it was hard to be on the bench while fighting a criminal charge while she was hearing criminal charges.
There was also going to be a lot of pressure from the Wisconsin Republicans as part of what the Republicans want to accomplish in 2026. Assembly Speaker Robin Vos made it a point to mention that if she did not step down, the first thing they were going to do was start impeachment hearings against Judge Hannah Dugan. Now, of course, for anybody not familiar or forgetting some of the details, she was actually arrested on April 25th after federal prosecutors filed 2 charges against her. And those charges stemmed from an April 18th incident where she let a man through a side door in her courtroom and said his hearing would be rescheduled over Zoom. It felt like a very quick trial from start to finish. Did it not?
It did because, it was a 4-day trial. It did the whole thing because from April, and it was, wasn't too much long after in the summer where it was
went
all
really
done.
Quickly.
Yeah, and there was a lot of coverage and attention when it happened. This was when the ICE raids were kicking off and new, and everybody was, outraged as they still are. But and it was at some point you have to say, okay, well, the jury found her guilty of the felony count.
Mm-hmm.
But they did find her not guilty of a misdemeanor charge of concealing an individual to prevent his discovery or arrest.
Right.
So, again, the legalese of this, I'm not a lawyer. I don't pretend to be. But she was convicted. And while she fights it to have it overturned, she has resigned.
She has. And this goes back to, if you're just joining us, we were discussing Tim Walz announcing that he's not going to seek another term as Minnesota governor just a few minutes ago. And we'll come back to that discussion later this morning as well. But at the same time, it feels a little bit like what we were talking about, a whataboutism, right?
Sure.
Would a Republican judge have chose to do the same thing? Would they have fought the charges? Would they have stayed in their seat while doing both? Same question we have for Walz. Is it? He decided to step down like a lot of Democrats do in these situations. Is that what we would want them to do? Is that what they feel is best for them, their families, the situation? Maybe it's just too big of a distraction. It feels like there's two coins that we could talk about with these situations.
I think it's different with a judge, to be honest. Yes, I know a governor is the chief law enforcement officer in the state and all that, but a judge has a different interaction with citizens, and a judge is there to. How do you trust a judge who has been convicted of a felony? How do you stand in a courtroom accused of something that's probably maybe not even a felony, and now a judge who's convicted of a felony is passing their sentence on you? The optics are bad. I don't care who's on the bench. I would, if I were a defense attorney, and I don't know if there's, again, I'm not a lawyer, but I've watched a lot of legal dramas on television. I would object to that nonstop. How is a convicted felon supposed to adjudicate my case and pass judgment on my client? I see Jamie talking, but I don't hear her. Gentlemen, are we...
Make sure you give us a call at 1-855-752-4842. That's 1-855-75-CIVIC. You can also text us, and remember, you can also use your Civic Media app. That is a free download in your Apple or your Google Play Store. So we're going to work to get Brian back. I know our tech producers, Dom and Parker.
You got him back.
You got him back? Are we good, Brian? Can you hear me this morning?
Yeah, I could hear you fine. I was in the middle of a very impassioned
I know, I could see it. I was like, no.
And I could see you talking over me. I don't know. And I was like, why is Jamie talking? I thought maybe you were having a private conversation with the boys and just icing me out. Big judge has come in and just cut me off.
No. And I didn't want to finish your thoughts for you because I could see you still talking. So I tried to summarize.
I have many thoughts, Jamie, and that's probably why I was censored by Parker and Dominic. I don't appreciate it. Gentlemen, we'll talk about this off the air. This is not a place for rage.
So you got to get out of here quick after the show, right?
No, not now. Now we're
he's gonna stick around.
Buckle up, fellas. Yes. We're gonna have
Sometimes
to get Frank on this.
live radio does not work in your favor. It's just how it goes. Apparently, somebody didn't want to hear about Hannah Dugan. Who knows? But I think, though, your final comment was that as a sitting judge, it makes it a little bit harder. And now I'm being told we got to get ready to go to break. And I do want to say that quickly, rain in the southern half of the state this morning, freezing rain. If you're in Wausau North, so please take it easy this morning. If you're in Wausau, Hayward, we'll keep you updated on the forecast. Yes. It's 6:29 right now. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan for now, unless they silence me again.
I promise we won't. When we come back, though, we are going to discuss the anniversary of January 6th and the insurrection at the Capitol building. You're listening to the Civic Media Radio Network.
Construction barrels bloom every spring, So do opinions. WMDX, guiding Madison through life's most predictable surprises.
Well, many of the commodity headlines are lamenting tariffs and loss of market. There is one commodity looking for new producers as their market tries to grow. I'm Pam Yankee, starting you off before the opening bell on a Tuesday morning. Quick look at what's happening in agribusiness news. The lamb market is growing, and they're hoping to grow it more in 2026. David Fisher is the vice chair of the American Lamb Board, and he says right now they're looking for new growers.
Right, so we've really focused in this upcoming fiscal year on education. As I mentioned, promotion is first and foremost for us, but we feel like we're doing a good job promoting. Both volume and dollar sales are up in the country. So we've refocused a little bit of our dollars, if you will, moved up in priority that education arm, because we see the need all across the country, Wisconsin included, of new producers coming into this business. And we want to give them the resources to help them learn how to raise sheep the right way and grow their flock so we can grow this industry.
David Fisher, vice chair of the American Lamb Board, he says domestic demand for lamb meat is rising significantly, with recent reports showing an increase in dollar sales and an increase in volume sales. They're even seeing the wool market snap back. If you're interested in finding out more about what you can do within the American Lamb Board, simply look for AmericanLamb.com. Markets are next.
In fields where weeds don't back down, farmers count on Liberty Ultra Herbicide by BASF. The Liberty Lock formulation delivers stronger coverage, improved uptake, and 20% better weed control. Clayt Anderson in North Loop, Nebraska can tell you the same.
Every post-pass we go in on soybeans, we spray Liberty on anything that we can, and it does everything that we need it to do.
That's Liberty Ultra Herbicide. Steady, trusted dependability. Hear more Ultramonials at libertyultramonials.com. Always read and follow label directions.
Did you know you can leverage crop insurance to benefit your bottom line? Ag Country Farm Credit Services can help. Choosing the right coverage for your goals can help maximize margins, strengthen your marketing strategy, and build a more resilient operation overall. As you plan for the season ahead, focus on more than just managing risk. Call 800-450-9858 to speak with one of our dedicated crop insurance officers. This institution is an equal opportunity provider and employer.
It was a risk-off market on Monday, meaning that traders pulled their stock markets and went to bonds and safe haven and things like gold and cash. This morning, very quiet in Chicago. Right now, March corn's unchanged, 445. December new crop unchanged, 463. March soybeans are up 2 at 1064. November new crop unchanged at 1076. July wheat down a penny at 534. Barrel cheese was unchanged. 40-pound block cheese dropped 4 on Monday at 135. Double A butter down 3, 134.5. I'm PM Yankee.
From the Capitol to your kitchen table, Madison's biggest stories live right here on 92.7 WMDX.
It is going to be cloudy and foggy with some scattered rain likely here through this morning, and it could get a little slick in spots where temperatures do drop closer to that freezing mark here. It's going to stay cloudy through the day with highs in the upper 30s to near 40. Tonight, mostly cloudy in the 20s. Tomorrow, sunny and warmer, high in the low to mid 40s. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Outside now, it's 33.
Hey there, Wisconsin. Tom Hartman here. Democracy is not a spectator sport, so join me each and every weekday right here on Civic Media for the Tom Hartman program from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Covering the news of the day and sharing ways for you to get off the sidelines and get active in your community, because change starts with you. Get involved and tune in to the Tom Hartman program Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. right here on your local Civic Media radio station.
Reading aloud to children sharpens their listening skills, expands their vocabularies, and nurtures a lifelong love of reading. That's why Reading is Fundamental, the nation's leading children's literacy nonprofit, offers free monthly read-alouds by popular authors through its Rally to Read program. Visit rallytoread.org to watch the read-alouds and discover exciting reading activities for school and home. Visit rallytoread.org today.
We'll be back in 15 seconds.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It is 6:35 right now, and you are listening to the Civic Media Radio Network. If you are listening in Oshkosh and Appleton, you are listening on WISS. You might also be listening on the Tap in Eau Claire at 93.5. We are certainly glad that you are here this morning. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan, and welcome. We are celebrating an auspicious anniversary today, Jamie.
Yes.
January.
Yes.
It is January 6th, in case somebody is still writing January 5th on their checks.
Do not be doing that.
They could. I don't know who's still writing checks, but yeah, January 6th. We all remember what happened. Some of us remember it because we saw it and watched it. Some of us have memories of it that don't really exist. But that's
That's
selective
besides the
memories,
point.
I guess. Yes, but
That's besides
today
the
was a very troubling day. Do you have recollections of that day?
I do. Mostly because at one point in my life, I got to spend some time in Washington, D.C. as an intern.
Oh, nice.
And I spent some time in the Senate and in I know it sounds maybe too dramatic, but they really do feel like hallowed grounds. They really do.
Anybody who's visited there gets the same feeling. You know, this is an important place. I may not
It is.
understand everything that goes on here. I may not agree with what goes on here, but this place is sacred, maybe a stretch, but it's a place of import.
It is it is very important, and I'll be honest. The day January 6th took place, it really hit home for me. And I remember being on a text chain with a bunch of friends, some who still work in D.C., some who have since left D.C., some that I met as interns and moved on to other things in life. But when you're an intern in D.C., especially at the time, this was the late 90s, early 2000s, your
Did you
senator
hang out with
had
Monica Lewinsky?
I did not. I did not. I grew up in South Dakota, so my home senator was Tom Daschle, if you remember that name from
Yes,
way
I
back
do.
when. And you had to be invited as an intern to step foot into the Senate floor.
Oh,
You
wow.
literally had to be invited by your senator and given actual permission at that time to, and that may have changed, but at the time you had to be invited onto that Senate floor. So just that, you felt the importance of where you were at, and you understood that this was a place that made history, and it literally did. And unfortunately, on January 6th, it made history in a whole different way. What about you? What were you doing, and do you remember that day?
Oh, I remember that day vividly because I was glued to the television. I got up and everybody had known that this rally was coming. It had been publicized by the president. Well, at that point, the former president on X and Twitter, whatever you want to call it. So I wanted to see what was going on, and I was sitting in the big chair, and I was glued to it. And once, it's one of those visions that you see and you know rationally it's happening, but you can't really believe it. I know I'm not alone when I sat in with my jaw on the floor just saying, this can't be happening. This isn't real. What's going on? And then as it got worse and worse, and seeing the live footage of policemen being attacked and windows being broken, and the one I don't know what you want to call her, insurrectionist, getting shot and killed. I mean, everything about that day was horrible.
It was.
And you couldn't believe it.
There are certain days of American history, and depending on your age, you remember some more than others. Or, 9/11, I was working in a newsroom on the day of 9/11. And obviously, I remember January 6th. And for different reasons, those days will stick out in my mind forever. And let's be realistic. As you get older in life, you hope you see less and less of days like that in your country's history. And I really hope.
The tragedies that stick out, like you're saying.
Yeah, it really is. And Parker, we do have sound from ABC News on January 6, 2021. This was part of their broadcast from that day.
They stormed the Capitol, clashing with police, breaking windows. Scaling the scaffolding, fights breaking out in restricted areas of the building, officers outnumbered. In the House chamber, lawmakers dove for cover beneath their desks. Agents with guns drawn, their fingers on the trigger, guarding the barricaded door.
We're being instructed to each of us get gas masks that are under our seats.
The demonstrators, some in tactical gear, were urged to go to the Capitol by the president himself.
Yeah.
It was like something out of a movie, but you knew it was real. And the visual, this is why I think it's hard for a lot of people when they hear the rhetoric that, oh, this was a completely nonviolent event. It's wait a minute. I was watching it as it unfolded. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't high. I was sitting in my living room
There was a part of me at one point that wished I was all of those things, though,
Yes,
as I was
yes.
watching it unfold. Yes, absolutely.
Just the visual, and for you, like you were saying, it had to have a whole different feel, having been part of the system and seeing these people in the rotunda with the Confederate flag and doing
I will be
what they were
honest.
doing.
As an intern, sometimes you're really busy, right? Sometimes,
Sure.
and it's literally just getting the coffee sometimes. But I remember there were times if I could find an extra 5 minutes and I knew we were going to the floor, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would go down there early and just sit in the quiet because there's this immense feeling that you get sitting there because you understand what has been what has taken place for so many years in this building.
Yeah.
And I never not appreciated that. If that makes sense to anybody
Yes.
listening this morning, I never not appreciated that moment because I understood. And as I was watching it unfold and we were watching all of these senators and Congress members climb under chairs, I knew exactly where all those nooks and crannies were because the building hasn't changed, right? So I knew where all of those nooks and crannies were. If you want to get in on this conversation this morning and talk about your recollections from January 6th, remember the number you can call or text 1-855-752-4842. That's 1-855-75-CIVIC. No, I think it's interesting because as we remember this anniversary date, and not one that we celebrate, right? I
No.
mean, it feels odd. I don't even know what you call it because I don't want to say, don't want to say honoring. You don't want to say anniversary.
Observe.
Observation.
We just observe this anniversary.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. Democrats on the House Judiciary Committee, did you see this? Yesterday released 2 new reports that actually examined all the aftermath of that attack during the first year of President Trump's second term. Now, these reports actually document the president's decision to pardon nearly all January 6 defendants, as well as this administration's mass firing of Justice Department officials who actually prosecuted those from during the Biden administration.
Yes, people who
were
are doing their job. That was you're a prosecutor. You're supposed to prosecute cases. That's
right.
that's the way
Weird
it
how
goes.
that works, right?
Well, yeah.
We have these quirky things in the country where you do your job and you prosecute people who break the law. Who would have thought that that's how it works? But this report is interesting because it actually cites findings from CREW, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. And they found at least 33 pardoned January 6 defendants have since been charged, arrested, or convicted of new crimes.
That was a big story as when the president first pardoned all these people.
Sure.
For a few weeks or couple months, we would see stories about the pardoned January 6th insurrectionist who got arrested again.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of, but our news cycle is so full and so fast, you lose sight of that. But that's a pretty big number to.
Yeah.
So these were not just law-abiding folks who went to see the Capitol and got swept up in. I've been in crowds before. I've never gotten swept up to start beating a police officer with a flagpole. But that's me, Jamie, because I'm a weirdo.
Weird how that works. Weird how that works, that you don't automatically go to violence. Now, back in January of 2025, January 28th, we had a former Capitol police officer in this studio, Harry Dunn. And here's what he actually had to say on those pardons.
especially now that Donald Trump has pardoned the over 1,500 individuals, many of whom violently assaulted law enforcement officers in the most brutal way. Why am I in Wisconsin? I believe that anybody that speaks of January 6th any other way than it was a attack on our democracy, it was the attack on law enforcement. If you don't speak on it any other way, I feel like it's my job to push back against you and tell you what it was.
And just for a little context there, Officer Dunn had been in the state of Wisconsin. This was prior to our last Wisconsin Supreme Court election between Brad Schimmel and Susan Crawford. And he was in the state because at that point in time, candidate Schimmel had not really said anything negative about those pardons, right?
Yeah.
So Officer Dunn was kind of on a mission to make sure that people understood how bad this event was and how it had impacted everybody involved, including the officers who tried to stand their ground that day at the Capitol.
Well, the two law enforcement images I'll never be able to get out of my head are the officer that was trapped between the doors and screaming for help as he was being crushed by the protesters in the door. And the other one is the officer who acted as bait and had people follow him to take them away from the chambers and the offices. And he was wildly outnumbered, but he led a lot of these insurrectionists away. And I will call them insurrectionists till the day I die because I trust what I see. I don't nobody can, and that's I guess the biggest takeaway. Trust what you see. Don't look at things or don't believe things based on rhetoric. If you have visual evidence, trust that visual evidence.
I mean, and that's what I don't understand is that there's some people in this country who still don't believe that this was not a day. It was a day of mourning as far as I was concerned. It was a mourning of our norms. It was a mourning of life. It was a mourning of procedure and process. And that is a stain on our what we know, right? And it felt like that was a bit, to me anyway, that felt like it was a bit of a point of no return, watching what was happening that day at the Capitol. Steve from Mount Horeb chiming in on the text line this morning. He says, as an Army veteran, he believes all January 6th rioters committed treason that day. And he believes that that is not a pardonable action.
Well,
I can't argue with Steve.
on a personal note, I will not argue with Steve either. I will stand.
And thank you for your service, by the way, Steve, and to all of our current and former military.
Just and here
mind-boggling.
Now, as we try to move on, but you can't. You hold those memories, and just the shock and dismay as we're talking about it. I'm feeling that again, just remembering what it was like sitting there going, this can't be happening. This can't be real. And yet it was real.
Here we are.
Well, we're changing it up after the break. We're going to talk about something that will maybe sit well with our young producers.
I hope so. I hope
listeners.
so. And it turns out that, Wisconsin's not a bad place to live. You're listening to the Civic Media Radio Network. I'm Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. We'll talk to you in a minute.
6:48 right now.
Community right to your phone through the Civic Media app. Select WMDX in the app and news comes to you. Real news and great conversation.
Warm up this winter at Guild Pack Games in Stoughton. Built for the community by players for players. This family-friendly store hosts Warhammer, Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, and One Piece. Unwrapped fun, friendship, and games all season long at Guild Pack Games in Stoughton.
I'm Dr. Jasmine Zapata, Chief Medical Officer for Community Health at the Wisconsin Department of Health Services. Every year in the U.S., about 21,000 lung cancer deaths are caused by radon, an odorless, tasteless, and colorless gas. 1 in 10 Wisconsin homes has high levels of radon. Does yours? Call 1-888-LOW-RADON or visit lowradon.org to learn more. Test, fix, save a life.
Sponsored by the Wisconsin Department of Health Services.
Oh, this is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio. On our show, we share stories from Turtle Island highlighting the people and issues shaping our communities. From protecting water to treaty rights and preserving languages and traditions, we cover it all. Hear voices like Arvina Martin of Emerge, Wisconsin, Dr. Stately, Robert Lilligren, and more. Because Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Native Roots Radio, weeknights at 8 on your local Civic Media radio station.
Listen to the Civic Media exclusive podcast, Busted Pencils.
Our guest, Dr. Jonathan Gerko. Johnny, jump in there.
I think there was very little radical about Mamdani. Free buses, for example. I ride the bus. Very few people actually pay the fare today. And you're riding the bus to work or to go to school or to spend your money in a different part of town. Hardly a radical public service.
Subscribe to Busted Pencils wherever you listen to podcasts.
When a warrior faces adversity, he fights through it. He finds a way. Freedom isn't free. Rolling strong. Belief. Believe you can and you will.
Wheelchairs for Warriors provides mobility solutions to veterans and first responders injured in the line of duty. Join the mission and visit wheelchairsforwarriors.org.
Small businesses are the heart of America. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Parallel parking in Madison? Impossible. Finding real conversation on the radio? Probable. With 92.7 WMDX.
Teachers are diverse, skilled leaders, innovating to prepare students for our fast-changing world. Teaching shapes lives. Are you ready? Explore teaching at Teach.
We'll be back in 15 seconds.
So much for joining us this morning. You are listening to the Civic Media Radio Network. It is 6:52 right now. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. And Jamie, you know this. Listeners might not. Our two technical producers are young men, Parker and Dominic. And I say young men because they're really kids to me, but that's because I'm an old cranky man. But they are young. They are whippersnappers. And this story, I think, will appeal to them. You saw this, and it's a pretty interesting thing about our neighbor to the southeast.
It is, and I can actually attest to this. I've got a kid who lives in the city, who happens to be our neighbor to the southeast, and of course, we're talking Milwaukee.
Of course.
It turns out that Travel and Leisure magazine has named it one of the best cities in the nation for young adults to move to in this great year of 2026. It was a report from late December, and it analyzed 30 major urban areas all across the country on metrics like the job market, dating opportunities, and overall livability. Milwaukee came in fourth on the list due to its not bad at all. Decent job market, young population, and short commute times. Now,
unless you're sitting in the zoo interchange, then I've been stuck in Milwaukee traffic a lot, and granted, it's not L.A. or Chicago traffic.
No,
but it should be short commute times. It's not that spread out.
It's like anywhere else, right?
Yes.
Like you kind of give and take
Welcome
a little
to the
bit.
city, yeah.
But other cities that made the list, since Milwaukee seems to be in good company, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is on this list, along with Boston, Massachusetts.
That's a great. My daughter lives in Pittsburgh, and
I love Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh's great. Yeah,
I would love to get out to Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh's a great
like an awesome city.
Yes,
yeah.
That voice is our technical producer Parker this morning. Pittsburgh is a really great city.
Yeah.
Also, Boston, Massachusetts made this list.
Nice.
We were just talking about this city in our last segment when we were observing the January 6th insurrection date, but Washington, D.C. for young people also makes the list.
I hear there's no crime there anymore.
I
No
hear
crime
it's
at
all
all.
been handled. All
Everything,
been handled.
That's the place to go.
Not in months.
Zero.
We've taken care of that one completely. I will say, though, that the cost of living in Washington, D.C., that one's interesting to me because that's not cheap. It's
I
not
was
cheap
gonna
in
say.
D.C.
And even out
But-
in the collar areas, if you go into
Yeah.
Silver Spring and stuff like that in Maryland, it's very expensive to live in D.C.,
It's
which is why
very
you hear
expensive.
stories about senators and representatives living like 6 to a house. Because
Yeah. Yes. And the job market thing, in light of recent firings and let goes and restructures, also seems a little bit more unstable to me. But hey, I won't argue with metrics.
There you go.
Atlanta, Georgia comes in 5th on this list, right behind Milwaukee.
Another
So
good
I'm going to
city.
defer to our. Oh, I know Atlanta's beautiful. I'm going to defer to our young producers. Parker, Dom, I know both of you live in Madison, but what do you think? What do you think of Milwaukee someday?
I gotta say, I've been to Milwaukee a handful of times, and
Okay.
I gotta say, Pfizer Forum is one of the best stadiums in the country. I love it, and I've gone to a Bucks game twice there in Milwaukee, and I've loved it. I loved
right.
every second of it, and that's partially the reason why I say it's in the top. It's really good.
Okay, good. All right, Parker.
Yeah, I can go with that. I like Milwaukee. I don't know if I can see myself living there.
Sure.
I'm a medium-sized city kind of guy. I
Gotcha.
think Madison's a good spot for me. But yeah, I do like
Okay.
Milwaukee. We got to get you to Miller Park.
I know. Yeah,
Jeez.
I gotta go. I gotta go there.
Hey, really, you gotta come-
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It really is. And, here's what I'll say. My kid moved there 3-ish years ago now, very, very quickly to go to school. He ended up just a couple of blocks off of Brady Street. If you know anything about Milwaukee, you know that is like the prime young person area. And he walks everywhere. He loves it. He was only a couple blocks from school. He's basically right by the lakes if he wants to take like a couple blocks of a walk. And I don't know if, other than for work, I think that would be the only reason you'd ever get him out of Milwaukee. He absolutely loves the city. Loves
The
it.
great thing about Milwaukee, and Pittsburgh has it, Boston has it. I don't know D.C. that well, but Atlanta has it too. It's neighborhoods. It's ease of getting around.
Yep.
It's neighborhoods that have concentrations of young people. There's things to do. There's restaurants. There's clubs. There's culture. There's all of those cities in that top 5 share those things, and it makes it attractive to come. And if you're very young, like the guys are, one roommate is fine. It gets to a point where if you have to have 3 or 4, my daughter lived in Manhattan for a little while, in the size of a closet with 3 roommates. That's too much. But Milwaukee has great areas to go around, and you can see different. Every neighborhood has its own sort of culture and feel and vibe, and that's what makes a great city, I think, for young people.
It's a big city that feels like you still live in neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And you don't get that in every big city. Trust me,
No.
you don't get that in every big city. So
And that's what surprised me about Pittsburgh, too. It's that same thing you're just describing. Yes, there's the downtown business area, but then you go into these neighborhoods and it's like, oh, okay, where's the city?
And this is a good point. People pointing out over on our social media feeds this morning, the diversity, the culture, the arts. It's incredible. So if you've never been to Milwaukee and, you might live way up there in Hayward or you're in Wausau, take a couple days, go explore your state and make a cheap vacation out of it because you'll have a good time. I promise. It is 6:58 right now. You are listening to the Civic Media Radio Network. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan, and when we come back, we will talk a little bit about what's going on in Minnesota. It is 6:59.
fewer bus drivers than it did just 20 years ago. A report from the Wisconsin Policy Forum shows that the school bus driver shortage in Wisconsin could get even worse as the workforce continues to get older. There's a committee vote on that proposal tomorrow. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson, 92.7 WMDX News.
The Packers in the playoffs. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. NFL, the Packers in meetings and going through walkthroughs, getting ready for Saturday night showdown against the Bears in Chicago for the wild card playoffs. The Bears battled the Lions Sunday, but lost on a last-second field goal, 19-16. The Packers losing to the Vikings, 16-3, their fourth loss in a row. Matt LaFleur asked if he has any regrets resting Jordan Love and the rest of the starters in Minnesota.
I think we did the right thing. I feel better about this, certainly, than I did a year ago after the game. It was a double whammy when we lose the game and you lose like a key player for us to go into that run. So I thought this was the best decision.
Men's college basketball. The Wisconsin Badgers host the UCLA Bruins tonight at the Kohl Center. The UW Green Bay Phoenix with a win over the Milwaukee Panthers, 79-76. The Phoenix jumped out to a 21-point lead in the first half. Green Bay now 8-8 under second-year head coach Doug Gottlieb. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Local news, real voices, and conversations that count. That's Madison. And that's 92.7 WMDX.
It is going to be cloudy and foggy with some scattered rain likely here through this morning, and it could get a little slick in spots where temperatures do drop closer to that freezing mark here. It's going to stay cloudy through the day with highs in the upper 30s to near 40. Tonight, mostly cloudy in the 20s. Tomorrow, sunny and warmer, high in the low to mid 40s. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Outside now, it's 33.
Where working people come to talk. It's The Rick Smith Show, weeknights at 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network. Join me for an honest approach to the issues American working families care about. No talking points, no focus groups. Get ready for a heavy dose of democracy, fairness, grit, and no apologies. It's current affairs from a working class labor perspective. Facts are center, science is real, and everyone gets a seat at the table. The Rick Smith Show, weeknights at 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network.
You're a storyteller, negotiator, artist, innovator. Whatever your passion, whatever your skills, behind the scenes or in front, you belong here. A career in broadcast media. Local radio and TV stations in every town and city need someone like you. So do what you love and bring your talent to life. Your passion, your skills, your career. You belong here. Learn more at youbelonghere.media.
I'm Brandy Grayson, the host of the Black Conversion Show on 92.
We'll be back in 15 seconds.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning on the Civic Media Radio Network. It is 7:06, a little rainy this morning in parts of the state. And if you were just listening to the forecast with our meteorologist, Sean Cable, you know that with temperatures hovering right around freezing, it could be a little slick in spots, especially if you're in the north area, Wausau North. If you're listening on WXCO in Wausau, some freezing rain expected in that area until about noon tomorrow on and off. So please, please take it easy if you have any sort of commutes over the next couple of days, or if you're from the southern part of the state, headed to the northern part of the state. We want everybody to get where they need to be safe and sound. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. And yes, I would rather it snow than have freezing rain.
Yes.
Ice is the worst, especially not only when you're driving. I'm at that age where I have to do the penguin walk once it starts getting icy. It's horrible. And so, yeah, if you're leaving the house and you're anywhere Wausau North, make sure you are very, very careful.
I got to tell you, I have a really not great back, right? Like
Okay.
I have to spend a lot of time with my chiropractor and my acupuncturist. So that penguin walk, I've been doing that since I've been like 20 years old. And I'm not even joking, because the last thing I want to do is fall. It's the last thing I want to do. Now, while I love my chiropractor and she is amazing, I want to spend as little time with her as absolutely possible. So I know that penguin walk all too well.
Yeah, I'm too big to fall. There's a lot of me and gravity pulls very hard. And so
I'm 5'1". I don't have very far to fall. I just don't want to do it. And I've done it. I've done it plenty of times. I really would prefer not to do so.
See, I'm 6'5", so it's a long way down to the down to the ground.
I don't even know
way.
what 6'5" looks like or should look like, or
like
what's the
this.
view like up there? I'm at everybody's armpit level. That's my view. That's what I get everywhere I go. If I'm in a crowd, it's armpit level to everybody, and in the summer, it's not that pleasant.
I was going to say, I'll make sure I wear deodorant if we're hanging out when it's hot.
Not that pleasant, let me tell you. Thank you so much for joining us on what we're calling our long-term temporary project here on Civic Media.
Yes.
And we're doing some changes at Civic as far as our lineup of hosts and our cast of characters. And Brian was gracious enough to volunteer, or maybe I had to coerce a little bit, but not too hard for him to join me.
All you had to do was ask. I'm happy to be here. I've spent a lot of time in Wisconsin on other stations, and it's good to be back, and it's good to be talking to so many people up from Madison North on the network to just
it's fun stuff.
Share some things. And we're speaking of the North, the story that is continuing to develop in Minnesota is getting not only local attention up there, but it's getting a lot of national attention as well.
Yeah, absolutely. If you didn't hear or are just waking up to news this morning, Governor Tim Walz, former vice presidential candidate, is not going to seek re-election this year. He's gone from a possible VP to not being involved potentially in politics at all. We don't know what his future plans are, so that would be pure speculation. And Senator Amy Klobuchar, who I love, Senator Klobuchar is pretty solid. She has a bit of an interest in running for governor of Minnesota. So I find that fascinating.
It is fascinating because it is as you've mentioned this before, a win-win for Minnesota because Tim Walz is going to be governor for another year. Amy Klobuchar does not have to resign her Senate seat in order to run for governor. So if she were to run and lose, she's still the senator and could run for Senate again. If she runs and wins, she would have the ability to appoint someone to fill her Senate seat, and that could be Tim Walz, it could be somebody else, but it would, I'll say 99%, so I don't seem like an absolutist, that it would be another Democrat, and that would be good for the Minnesota Democrats. I want to ask you this, Jamie. They're framing a lot of places, and I was just reading a story in Axios, the headline of which, "Inside Tim Walz's dramatic political fall." And I know this doesn't seem like a political fall until you start looking, go, well, maybe, in Kamala Harris's new book, she says she thought picking a second-term governor and politician to run with her, that he'd know what he was getting into, but in hindsight, who could? He really got lambasted by the National Republican Party, as you expect when you're running for president or vice president. All guns are pointed at you. Some of it took a much more personal turn than I think needed to be, but I don't know if you can. I don't know. It'd be interesting to hear from people who are in Minnesota.
Yes,
do
absolutely.
you view Tim Walz's decision not to seek re-election as a political fall, or do you see it as the act of a guy who's done all this by not seeking re-election and having to fight the scandal that's going on about the funding for the daycare centers and giving another Democrat a chance to come in? Politics aside, he's also doing it to protect his family, who are getting a lot of death threats. And coming off the heels of the assassination of the representative a year ago and her husband, it's that's a serious thing. So it'd be interesting to hear the perspective of people from Minnesota, but I wanted your perspective too on this. Do you see this as a fall, or do you see this just as, hey, this is the natural trajectory of some politicians?
I think it's a natural trajectory. If you look at it as a VP candidate, I know this is not going to be a popular answer. And I felt like the Harris campaign from start to finish because of how fast it had to roll out, because of the circumstances involved, I felt like that was it was a rushed decision. Not to say that I didn't appreciate the candidate. I appreciated her expertise. I just felt like from start to finish, it was a rushed candidacy. We watched it in real time,
Sure.
right?
107 days.
Right. And I was I liked Tim Walz as a VP candidate, right? He was not on my bingo card, as the kids like to say. When they announced that one, I was like, oh, that kind of came out of left field. Now, do I understand potentially what the thinking was there? A guy who kind of resonated with the Midwestern roots, who obviously this country has had a hard time with females in political power, especially a female of color. So you got to think consultants get involved. I kind of know how this politics thing goes every now and then. So you got to think that at some point somebody was like, I know. Let's try to mitigate all of these things, and let's bring in a guy like Tim Walz who can speak to perhaps the middle of the country. I don't know if that was the rationale. That's what it felt like to me personally when I was watching the whole thing roll out. And I don't know if that was an abject failure on his part. I don't think it was. I think if you read her book and you listen to the things she has said, it felt like there were a lot of things perhaps working against that campaign that the rest of us were never privy to.
And also in that, there were some embellishments on his resume that had there been a longer time to vet, maybe would have been figured out. I really, it was very distasteful, some of the personal attacks.
Yes,
against his son, and all of that. But there were issues like there are with any candidate. The problem is everybody wants a perfect candidate. There's no perfect candidate.
Nobody's perfect.
And you're gonna bring a guy in who. There's a difference between experience on a state level, even in the highest office in a state, and the national level. And coming on, the last election was under a microscope like no other.
Yeah.
Just because of the transition and
yes,
there were so many things. And so now if you have a guy who isn't ready for that, has a couple things that, man, once they discover the little, and it wasn't outright lies, it's little resume embellishments, but they're still, it's still not true. You still have to, you gotta call it out when you find it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to own them. And now he's taken responsibility. He said this recent scandal with the funding happened on his watch. He's the guy who has to be accountable for it. He's the guy who's going to fix it. And that's part of why he's not running again, so that he can just focus on the outward side. So I can focus on my job as governor.
Yeah.
There's all the other stuff behind the scenes.
I do think it's fascinating. I know that the Minnesota Democrats had a little consternation based on his record with the Human Services on whether or not they were going to be able to win that governor's race in 2026.
Yeah.
So I get that maybe this is a case of him wanting to do what he feels is best for his state as well. And listening to him speak, listening to his love for Minnesota, listening to his love for the country, I'm sure there's some protection. I feel like there's probably some protection for his own family in this.
Yeah.
But I also feel like this might be Tim Walz saying, I'm going to do right now what is best for the people of my state. And, maybe I'm too much of a romantic when it comes to politics that I want to believe that. Maybe he's got some... Maybe he's got some other reason. But, I really feel like he is a true dude, though. I really do feel like even if there were embellishments on the resume, I still feel like Tim Walz is kind of one of those tried and true dudes in life who really does actually care about the job and the people and making sure that people are taken care of. And if you look at his track record as an educator, that's what he's done. That's what he's done, right? So I want to go with the romanticism of politics. which it seems very odd to say in 2026, but I'll go with that.
All right. Well, on that, speaking of odd to say,
Yes.
after the break, we are going to play Buy or Boo. I don't know what
Yes.
this game is. Our man Frank, our executive producer, has come up with the game, and he said, I want you guys to play a game. And
Okay.
I thought immediately of Matthew Broderick and War Games, and I thought, are we going to play
great
global
movie.
thermonuclear destruction, Frank? This is, it's only our second day. I don't know if we can take over the world, Pinky
I mean,
in
they
the
don't even
brain,
know if they
but
want us on the air yet here at
Right.
Civic Media, so I
Well-
think we need to tamper our expectations.
I don't know. Once we start blowing things up, it's going to be different. So on the other side, please join us for the inaugural, perhaps first and only, perhaps the beginning of something fantastic, Buy or Boo. And if you want to comment on anything we're talking about today, you can call or text 855-752-4842. That's 855-75-CIVIC. And again,
Yeah,
it's the weather up north a little dicey.
Yeah, and I also have to say, yet this hour, if you're worried about getting sick, we're going to talk a little bit about the flu epidemic that's taking over the country right now. Jim Conway from UW Health Kids, he's a pediatric infectious disease doctor, joining us around 7:30 this morning. So we're going to talk a little bit about influenza, and hopefully, Parker, I'm going to let you check on Ted. He's been hanging out on the phone, but I'd like to quickly take his phone call when we come back as well, because he's very excited to hear you back on the radio, Brian. So
Is that right?
Yeah.
I owe Ted a lot of money, so he finally found me.
He tracked you down. We're on the radio. It's not hard to do. I'm Jamie Martinson, Brian
And I'm
Noonan
Brian
also
Noonan.
joining.
It's 7:20. You are listening to the Civic Media Network.
Both weird in the best way.
It's the Eco Minute powered by Clean Wisconsin, your environmental voice since 1970. I'm Amy Barrio. $159 million going to help communities across Wisconsin remove and replace lead water pipes. Governor Evers announced the funding will go to Rice Lake, Chippewa Falls, Oshkosh, Milwaukee, Racine, Thorpe, and Manitowoc. The money was allocated by Congress in 2021 as part of the bipartisan infrastructure law. The Public Service Commission of Wisconsin being sued for refusing to release information about an AI data center in Beaver Dam. The commission redacted documents to hide how much energy the metadata center will use, then refused to comply with an open records request, calling the data center's energy use a trade secret. Legal nonprofit Midwest Environmental Advocates filed a lawsuit saying the move violates open records law. Right now on the Defender podcast, what to know about PFAS in pesticides. Listen at cleanwisconsin.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
My part-time service in the Army National Guard makes it possible for me to be more for the community I call home. My training helps me at work when I lead by example. My service in the Army National Guard allows me to keep my community and those I care about safe from threats. Learn more about how you too can live and serve part-time close to home by visiting nationalguard.com.
Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
Pete Schwaba.
Mug Root Beer's limited edition cologne, Daddy's Home, which includes the aromas of cedar, sandalwood, vanilla, and caramel. It's the kind of scent that whispers, "Come to Papa."
At their Instagram post, it said, "You asked, mug delivered."
No, that's not
Who
true.
asked?
Nobody asked for this. Daddy's Home. Come over here and hump my leg and let me down a mug. This is awful.
And it's sold out.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 5 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Is getting vaccinated on your to-do list? We can help you check that off.
You've got this.
Yes, you do. See how we've got you at yougotthis.usaging.org.
15 seconds till we're back.
$7:22 right now. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. That is a great song. Oh my goodness. Kudos to you two, Parker and Dom, our tech
Nice
producers
job, boys.
this morning.
That's all, Dom.
Oh, thank you guys. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan, and we are rocking. This is very exciting, Jamie. We've only been on this, our second show, and we're already playing a game. We already have a bit. This is a bit.
We do. It is 7:23, by the way. Now, our senior producer, Frank, is going to join us in just a moment, but poor Ted's been hanging out on the phone for a really, really long time. Ted, good morning. How are you?
Ted's asleep. I don't blame him.
Behind the wheel, though. Wake up, Ted. Hurry up. It's a little icy out there, I hear.
Steering to the skid, Ted.
Yeah, wherever it's not treated, it's icy, and not only that, it's very, very, very foggy up here.
Okay, and you're calling from where? Where are you at this morning?
Appleton.
In Appleton. Okay, well, we want you to take it easy out there, and we appreciate the update. And are you guys supposed to get more freezing rain today and fog and all of the good winter stuff?
Yeah, there's a slight, there's a chance all day, and there's a slim piece right straight through the east to the west, that sliver that's coming right. It's not going that much north. It's not going that much south. But
Get out of the sliver, Ted. Do yourself a favor.
yeah.
Drive north,
then
young man.
snow.
Isn't that what they say? Drive north?
I'm set put. I'm at an airport, so I can't go very far.
All right. Well, we appreciate. Yeah.
Also, I'm glad to hear that your show is going good so far.
Well, that's what they tell us.
I was shocked yesterday when all of a sudden I recognize that voice, Brian Noonan.
Oh, well, thank you, Ted. Yes, I was shocked, too.
I haven't heard your voice since you left that other Milwaukee station.
Yeah, we don't say the name of that one.
Yeah.
We won't say the name of it.
No.
Well, I've been lurking.
On Civic Radio.
I'm excited to be here, Ted. I'm glad you found me. I have been lurking in the shadows, waiting to reemerge on the Wisconsin airwaves. And Jamie was nice enough to open the door, and in true vampire fashion, she invited me in, and now I'm going to devour everyone.
Well, I'm glad that you jumped the other side.
Thanks, Ted.
Thank you so much for calling, and you
Thanks.
guys
Be
safe
careful,
up in
Ted.
Appleton.
Stay out of the sliver.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Keep it up, and so you guys stay on the radio, because I miss Pat already.
Okay.
And Todd, and it's like, what are we doing here? Now, stay here. Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
All right,
we'll
we're staying. That's our plan, Ted. Thanks very much for the call. Be careful today. Good to. I'm glad you found us. This is exciting. This is exciting.
You're
Frank,
very excited for a bit, aren't you?
I love bits, Jamie. That's
Who
my
doesn't
whole
love a
thing.
bit?
Who doesn't morning shows and bits? I don't care if we're doing news talk or if we're doing a morning zoo. You gotta have a bit.
That's right. You do. A good one. All right.
Yeah.
So, Frank,
Well,
tell
let's
us how
see
this
if
is going to work.
Let's see if this fits
All
the
right,
bill.
here's the bit. All right, we're going to be playing buy or boo. So you're either buying it or we're booing it.
Oh!
All
And we
right.
have sound effects. Oh,
And
gotta
we
get
have-
sound
I
effects.
know. Look at us. Real
So
radio
far, so
show.
good. Very exciting.
Okay. All
So
right.
I've
I'm
got
ready.
a couple of predictions for 2026 involving Wisconsin or the country in general. And you guys
Okay.
got to let me know if you're buying it or if you're booing it, and it's not going to happen.
Okay.
So
All
number
right.
one, we're going to stay local. Wisconsin will finally welcome sports gambling. So you don't have to drive south of the border to place your bets in your car like my friend. Jamie, do you want to go first?
I'll go for it. I'm buying it. I'm buying it.
Based on Wisconsin's cannabis mentality, I am booing it.
You're booing it.
All right.
Booing it. They're not going to bring sports betting here. It's another vice. We don't need any more vices up here, Frank.
We also like our money in this state, though. So that's the only reason I would buy it. And Robin Voss wants to bring it back, wants to bring up this exact subject in the assembly whenever we gavel in, that is. So
I saw the boys in the studio perk up as soon as I said sports gambling.
Yeah, but they're degenerates. They don't count.
I know.
This is
Parker's
true.
ready to gamble on D3 football of all things.
I am. I'm very ready to gamble on
He
D3
placed
football.
a bet on this game, Frank.
It's very important. I had the over, so.
All right, moving on
Okay,
to
all
number
right.
2. This one's pretty serious. I'm curious what you guys think. A Republican will be elected as the new governor of Wisconsin.
Oh, yikes.
Brian, do you want to go first this time?
Yeah, I'm
go
deferring to you.
All right, I will go first. Republican will go into. Man,
It's a hard one.
this is tough with the new maps and the prevailing winds of national politics. There's been a lot of. All right, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to buy that one, Frank. I'm going to buy it.
Okay. And honestly, I think, gosh, it's a big pool of candidates. It's a big pool. And we have our primary elections coming up in April. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy that one because there's been a pattern in Wisconsin as far as the governorship goes over the last couple of years, last couple of elections, I should say. Right. So I'm going to buy that one. I'll be with you. I'll go out on a limb on this one.
Right.
I don't know what's going to happen.
But that's
yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
All right, moving on to the rest of the country. This is for everybody. 90% of our online content will be artificial intelligence.
90% is too high.
90%.
I'm not buying
Yeah.
it. I'm booing it.
I'm not buying it. That's too much.
Yeah.
If you would have said, if you would have said like 60%, I might have got a money sign. But 90%
So
seems
there
like
is
too
a
much.
prediction that 60% will probably be what it is, but we are trending upwards.
Okay.
I'm getting the signal from Parker.
Parker's telling us we're getting one of these.
Up.
We're getting to wrap it up. All right, so we are going to talk a little bit about this flu season coming up next, how we can stay safe, keep ourselves and our families safe. It is 7:29. I'm Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan, and you're listening to the Civic Media Radio Network.
Hey there, Jim. It's Parker. How you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
Doing good. Thank you so much for joining us.
Happy to be here. You can hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you. Jamie, do you have any? Jamie and Brian, do you have any notes that you guys want to share with him?
No, good morning, Jim. Thanks for being here.
Sure, happy to be here with you guys.
Do you prefer Jim or Dr. Conway?
That's your call.
Okay.
John and Gordy go back and forth in what they call me.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, you guys can, whatever the general vibe is, you can do what's best for you guys.
Okay.
Perfect. So we'll start with the local numbers and Wisconsin and the flu, and then we'll move into the changes in the vaccines that came out yesterday. I'm sure you have thoughts.
And
maybe you can.
I've got thoughts on everything, including all the things that you guys were just talking about. I've got thoughts on.
Maybe you can explain to us what shared decision making is that the secretary wants us all to do. So yeah, it doesn't sound real great. But
no, it's not really well thought through. Unfortunately, it's more based on sort of emotion and other biases rather than actually a scientific approach. But we'll
that
figure it
seems
out.
to be the pattern, right? That seems to be the pattern with this.
It certainly does.
What role does science play in medicine anyway, doctor?
I know it's overrated, right?
It's not like you've just spent years in school and had to learn things and you just go on a gut feeling. It's fine. It's just a gut feeling.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what you do on a daily basis, doctor.
Yeah, right. I mean, there is room for scientific skepticism. I mean, that's the scientific process. You're supposed to question everything, and until you have, and so that part is valid. It's just the process of how you do it is, unfortunately, a little bit elusive for some of these people.
Yeah.
Well, I want to save some of this discussion for when the people can hear it. But on that point you just made, I have a question. But if we get to it, I'll ask it then.
Sure, bring it. I'm open for anything.
Yeah, well, I'll throw it out to you. Yes, we have to be skeptical. Yes, we're always investigating. Is there a point where we go, okay, there is a point. You go, we got this.
Yeah.
Penicillin works on this, and the vaccine works to do this. So
no, we talk about it as the reproducibility phenomenon. So,
yeah.
I think we dealt with it during the pandemic where, there were these preprint articles that would come out and everybody would be like, oh, wow, that's really exciting. And we would say like, oh, tip the brakes. They got to give these time to
Yes.
be able to see if it actually holds up with multiple studies. And, basically until something can hold up in multiple studies, that's when it essentially becomes scientific fact. And so once you've got something that you can reproduce and over and over again. Similarly, when you're questioning it, you've got to have a consensus, but you got to have enough reasons that what you thought was the truth is no longer the truth. And that may happen occasionally, but that's a process, not something that you just sort of pull the trigger.
And it's always amazing to me that even after all those trials and all that, the same repeated results and all the scientific study, that people still go, nope, I think I know better.
Yeah, no, that's the tricky part with dealing with human emotion and health psychology.
Yeah.
So Frank sent me a note that said, like, while we're in the backstage, people can hear us talking, or is that, I didn't quite understand that.
We can hear each other.
Yeah, and if
okay, got it.
and with one of the drawbacks of StreamYard is if you're online and they're an online viewer, they're hearing our conversation now, but it's not going over the air or.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, it's one of the drawbacks. It's got some guardrails.
Okay, just want to make sure I'm not going into anything that we don't want to.
And we'll go back into it.
I'm glad you said that, Jamie. I'm going to keep my mouth shut during the during the breaks.
Well, I wanted to get involved in some of your previous conversations on Frank's prediction stuff.
That's good.
They had some good topics there. I was intrigued. I appreciated your responses. I'm still torn about what I think is going to happen with this next election cycle.
Yeah,
We'll be back in 15 seconds for you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Wisconsin. Thank you so much for joining us today. It is 7:35, and if you are listening in Richland Center on WRCE or over in Wausau on WXCO, we appreciate you being along with us. It is, I think I said this. I think I said it's 7:35, but we'll say it again because it's never too important in the morning when you're trying to get somewhere. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. We're glad you're here on day number 2. Jamie, have you gotten your flu shot?
I did. In fact, I was very late this year. I usually try to get my flu vaccines, usually in October. Ended up just getting it over the weekend. Okay. And honestly, with the numbers this year and from what the pharmacist was telling me with the latest direction from the Wisconsin Department of Health, I'm kind of maybe glad I waited. What about you? I get
mine. Years ago, when I was young and dumb, I used to say, I don't need a flu shot. Then I started teaching, and I was in rooms with tiny children who were full of snot and phlegm and everything else. And I was like, man, I got to get a flu shot. And I get it every year. I got it in early November. And you mentioned the numbers. The Department of Health Services has listed Wisconsin's influenza rates based on emergency department visits as very high. And to help us make sense of this and the new vaccine news, Dr. Jim Conway is with UW Health Kids. He's a pediatric infectious disease doctor, and he joins us now on Civic Media Mornings. Dr. Conway, thanks for being here. We appreciate it. Those numbers I gave, or that statistic that it's very high, what does that actually mean?
Yeah, well, it basically means that, these new flu strains are spreading rapidly throughout our communities, and certainly the holiday season and travel has helped promote that. But what that means on the ground for us is that urgent cares and emergency rooms are filling up with people with respiratory symptoms, many of them people with underlying comorbidities that put them at high risk for having bad outcomes, and sadly, the majority of them unvaccinated. So, I think what we're seeing is the reality of what happens when people make decisions or fail to be able to get access to vaccines. And so it's really starting to fill up the hospitals rather quickly. We're at capacity at many of the UW facilities already.
My goodness.
Go ahead, Jamie.
I was just going to say, I mean, in 2025, we saw a couple of pediatric deaths, according to DHS. And how common is that with things like the influenza or even with COVID, for especially the non-vaccinated? Is that a common?
I mean, last year we had about 300 kids die of flu in the United States. The majority were healthy kids. So I think there's this misimpression that it's only people, that have other underlying medical problems. But, unfortunately, the majority of them were healthy kids and almost all of them were unvaccinated. So, I think one of the things to remember is that probably two things. One is all of these viral infections are unpredictable. And, while the majority of people do make it through, even measles, with, a good outcome, it's the unpredictability of these. I think the other is that people sort of have this idea that it's the old people and the people with, that are taking a lot of medications for things that are the ones at high risk. But young kids have similar risks, that their immune systems either don't deal well with things, which is why they need so many shots when they're young, or their immune system goes crazy with certain types of things. And so, when you ask about COVID, kids with COVID didn't necessarily have as bad outcomes from the COVID itself, but their immune systems would do really unusual things. And so we had this phenomenon during COVID called MIS-C, multisystem inflammatory syndrome, of children with COVID. And essentially their immune system would start to react and then just go off the deep end. And so you had these really unusual reactions to things. So I think the unpredictability of it is really what worries us. And that's part of the reason why the reliability of vaccines, where you can train the immune system to believe it's had some experience with an infection previously, allows it to deal better with it when it actually comes down with it.
Dr. Jim Conway is our guest. He's a pediatric infectious disease doctor with UW Health. Let's stay with the unpredictability, because we heard a lot every year when the flu vaccine is being produced. It's kind of a guess, a gamble on which strain it's going to go for. And a lot of the news reports have said that, yes, the strain of flu that's going around is not quite what the vaccine is targeted for, but that doesn't mean that the vaccine is ineffective, correct?
Correct. Yeah, it's an interesting sort of educated guess, we like to say, in sort of figuring this out. Because, what you do is you look at what's circulating in the Southern Hemisphere. I mean, I think it's important to remember our summer is their winter. And so we use their winter as sort of a predictor what's going to continue to circulate as things come around. The flu vaccine actually has 3 different strains of influenza, and it's got 1B strain and then usually 2A strains. And typically there's an H1N1 strain. I think people remember the 2009 H1N1 pandemic that we lived through, closed schools, gave vaccines in a weird off time in summer. So we've been through this rinse, wash, and repeat. So we've had that H1N1 in there for a while. And then usually there's another strain. And typically in the last couple of years, it's been this H3N2 strain. But you still have to kind of predict how the virus is going to change as it passes from person to person to person. And so those mutations are really what we have to sort of anticipate. And they make a pretty good guess. And so there's an H3N2 strain in there that was based on what was circulating last year. And it did continue to mutate. And so we've got a little bit different variation now. This K-clade is partially protected by the vaccine. It's certainly not perfect, but, I don't think you want perfect to be the enemy of good enough. Right. And, at this point, I think people need to understand the vaccine certainly protects from people getting severe disease. It may not completely protect you from getting sick, but I'd certainly rather have a mild case of disease than ending up in an ICU somewhere with some kind of terrible pulmonary problems.
Yeah, in fact, we're getting texts in from some of our listeners this morning. Bud from Janesville saying that his wife has actually just been in the hospital with influenza. So hopefully she's on the mend. Before we jump into some of the national changes on the vaccine front, because we want to pick your brain about this a little bit, Dr. Conway, since you are the specialist. I mean, I know it always sounds cliche, but it is always a good reminder. What do we do to protect besides getting the vaccine, even, because we aren't, as you just said, protected from all strains, and there is variances to it. What can we do to protect ourselves, make sure we stay healthy right now, especially?
Yeah, there's probably two big things to think about. I mean, one is kind of what we learned during pandemic and then suddenly seem to have forgotten, which is to be courteous and respectful for others. And so if you're sick, ideally you stay home. And if you've got to go out for whatever reason, and certainly there's lots of people that got to go out and get groceries and work and take kids to their things, wearing a mask to keep from showering everybody else with your spray as you cough and sneeze is the courteous thing to do. And while I think people unfortunately have abandoned masks, I think there's a lot of benefit to those when you got to go out. And I think people thought of them during pandemic with COVID as being to protect themselves, but really, one of the primary reasons is actually to protect others. And so, obviously we talk about covering your cough and all those kinds of things, but the ultimate way to cover your cough is to wear a shield. So whatever coughing and sneezing. And, one of the things people have to remember is like when you're talking or singing or yelling, there's a lot of mouth spray that's coming out. And so even though you may say like, oh, I can put my face in my elbow when I'm going to sneeze or cough, you're constantly spraying stuff. And where most people get these respiratory illnesses is when people inoculate some surface, they touch it and then touch their own face or hand or nose. And lo and behold, there you are with an infection. So I think that's the first thing, is trying to be respectful and be courteous. And then the second is for especially people that are high risk, again, the young, the old, and those with underlying medical problems, there are antiviral medications available. And so if you do start to come down with symptoms, especially, flu is a little bit distinct compared to the other respiratory viruses because it often comes with fever and it often comes with muscle aches and, that headache that goes along with it. That's a good time, especially if you're in one of those high risk groups, to contact your provider. And it's pretty easy to get a prescription for what's called Tamiflu or oseltamivir, or there's a new version, Baloxavir, that's on the market, that they're very happy to call in for you to get a prescription going. And if you can start that within the first 2-3 days, it can really both decrease your risk of getting real sick, but also shorten the duration of how long you're sick and protect everybody else. So I think those two things are really important. And then the final part is, it's still not too late to get vaccinated. I mean, our peaks of influenza and RSV and other viruses in Wisconsin, don't happen until later in January and into February. That's the peak of the disease. And so there's still plenty of time and plenty of vaccine available, and there's still plenty of benefit. There's lots of people coming back traveling and then starting to reintroduce these things into our communities. So if you haven't done it yet, there's no reason not to.
Well, speaking of the flu injection or the vaccine, that's one of the changes that came about yesterday when our Secretary of Health, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and his crew decided that we are going to change the amount of vaccines that children are required to take. It's down now to 11. The CDC will not have to recommend that children get flu vaccines anymore, along with rotavirus, hepatitis A, hepatitis B, some meningitis or RSV. A lot of medical professionals are saying this is a big mistake. Dr. Jim Conway, you're a pediatric infectious disease doctor. What did you think of the announcement yesterday and the fact that now we're doing something called shared decision making? Where,
please tell us what that is.
Yeah, it sounds like, hey, uneducated people get the same weight as educated people.
Yeah, that's a lot to unpack. I mean, honestly, my first emotion was actually just being sad. I think while a lot of my colleagues were angry and really, sort of bent out of shape, I was just kind of saddened by sort of these kind of emotional decisions that aren't really based in science and evidence that unfortunately put the most vulnerable members of our population, the young children, at risk for diseases that could disable or kill them. And at best are inconvenient, unpleasant, and really things that we don't want our kids to have to suffer through. We've made a decision as a society over the last 30 years, as new vaccines have been developed and really carefully tested and really carefully scrutinized, that we don't want to just immunize against things that kill kids, but we want to immunize against things that also make life unpleasant, disable kids from being able to go to school, from parents being able to work, that will help unburden our healthcare systems and avert unnecessary costs. And so suddenly saying that we don't care about those things as much as we used to, it makes me sad. And basing it on Denmark's immunization schedule, which I think people need to recognize they're an outlier as well. Like if you look at the rest of the European Union countries and their peer countries, they're even an outlier. They have a nationalized healthcare system. It's very easy to get in and get seen, and they've kind of put their eggs into the we're comfortable treating everything and doing what we can from a public health standpoint to restrict entry where we can get these diseases being introduced into the communities. But they've always been sort of viewed as a little bit of a strange egg in their approach to these things, that while it's a very developed and scientifically based country at some levels, have chosen to not take advantage of some of these great scientific breakthroughs. So, I think that we're, sort of depriving a lot of people from the opportunity to be protected against these terrible diseases. And so, that then segues into kind of how this will look in an implementation standpoint. Shared clinical decision making, I think people need to understand, is something that we do all the time. And the idea is that it's basically you have reasonable options and helping people choose between reasonable options. Reasonable options is not choosing to be protected against the disease or not be protected against the disease. That's not what shared clinical decision making was ever intended for. So it's really sort of an aberration of what this is supposed to be used for. And I think it's sad that that's kind of where we're moving.
All right, Dr. Jim Conway, from the UW Health Kids Pediatric Infectious Disease Clinic. We thank you so much for your time this morning, and we're going to have to leave it right there because we've got to get to a break. You are listening to the Civic Media Radio Network at 748. I apologize for screwing up the name.
No worries.
Thank you, Doctor.
I
that
corrected
was
myself. Thank you so much.
So much,
that was
as
great.
you said, a lot to unpack in a short amount of time.
Yeah, but no, happy to do it, and always happy to help out and get the word out to whoever's willing to listen and pay attention to responsible media.
Perfect. Well, I'm sure we'll talk again. Thanks very much.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great
Have a good day.
Take care.
Herbal Aspect in Sun Prairie, because great cannabis isn't just a pipe dream.
Nice. I'm rolling over now.
Herbal Aspect.
You can support animals in need in our community when you shop at Dane County Humane Society's thrift stores. Thrift Store West on Watts Road and Thrift Store East on High Crossing Boulevard. Shop gently used and new clothing and accessories, home goods, toys, furniture, and a whole lot more. All proceeds from the Dane County Humane Society's thrift stores support the comfort and care of animals in need across the county. Visit giveshelter.org/thrift for more information.
This is Robert Pilot, host of Native Roots Radio. On our show, we talk about Native issues like treaties, protecting Mother Earth, and holding our elected officials accountable. You'll also hear from Turtle Island voices like Arvina Martin, State Representative Heather Keeler, Ruth Anna Buffalo, Dr. Anthony Stately, State Senator Mary Kunish, Robert Lilligren, and Bob Blake. Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Native Roots Radio, weeknights at 8 on your local Civic Media radio station.
A fresh perspective on the great outdoors.
What's up, Wisconsin? This is Raised in Wisco. I'm your host, Joel Clayfish, and oh my goodness, I don't know if I'd be lying if I didn't say that the cooking segment of the show.
We all know it's your favorite.
Excited.
We all know
this. Eating. Food is my favorite dish.
Raised in Wisco with Joel Clayfish and Danielle Fairman. Find the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Doctors Without Borders is delivering life-saving medical care where it's needed most in communities around the world. From bandaging war-wounded patients in Sudan to providing clean drinking water in Haiti, we're in more than 70 countries worldwide, bringing patients from sick to recovering, from emergency to aid, from crisis to care. This life-saving care is made possible by a global movement of supporters like you. Thank you.
Let's talk rechargeable battery safety with tips from the National Fire Protection Association. Only buy products with a safety certification mark. Charge devices on hard surfaces. Don't use off-brand cords and always unplug when fully charged. Charge into fire safety at fpw.org/battery.
All right, we got about 15 seconds to our back.
appreciate you joining us this morning. My name is Jamie Martinson.
I'm Brian Noonan. The boys have upped their music game today.
They have. You guys are
Bringing in
awesome.
some bops, as the kids like to say. That's a trend. Isn't that called bops?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Hey, I've been waiting to talk about this all morning, and we're going to talk about some trends from 2025 in just a moment that are probably going away, or we hope they're going away. Like when Brian says the word bops, we hope that goes away.
It might go away. Maybe.
It might go away. We don't know.
Could go away.
But I find this absolutely fascinating this morning, and this is like science gone wrong. It really, truly is. The world's oldest Twinkie turned 50 years old today. We've heard that they last forever, like cockroaches, Twinkies. Cher likes to joke that she'll be there at the end times as well.
Well, yeah,
but,
she's mostly plastic. So.
Right? I love Cher, though. She's just the best. But the world's oldest Twinkie is 50 years old this year. And this was actually an experiment started by a chemistry teacher in Blue Hill, Maine. And he started this experiment in 1976 for his class. And it's lived on ever since. Now, the class was talking about food additives that, we like to consume in all of our fun little snack foods. And it turns out that in Twinkies, there's a lot. Now, if you look at the photos of this.
For sure. They stay moist forever. You can't do that naturally.
This looks like something. It literally looks like a dried up old sponge. There are photos of this thing online. It is insane. It looks like a dried up old sponge that you'd have in your kitchen sink or wherever. And then the inside of it, that creamy white filling, actually looks like maybe caramel or peanut butter inside of it.
Yeah, a color that isn't natural, but that's nothing new. First of all, I can't remember the last time I had a Twinkie. But to see it in this beautiful little showcase just rotting away, it brought back, do you remember the documentary that Morgan Spurlock did about McDonald's, Size Me?
Yes.
It's that same thing where he kept, I can't remember if it was a burger, a quarter pounder, Big Mac, one of those he kept, and you watched it over time not really break all the way down, just break down enough. And seeing this Twinkie, it's like,
yeah, no, it's pretty disgusting. And for the record, for anybody who's wondering, the official shelf life of a Twinkie back then, 50 years ago, was 26 days. The Hostess company says that it's now up to 45 days, mostly because of better packaging. No.
Oh, is that what it is?
No, it's not that at all. It's not. There's more food additives.
Jamie, Big Snack Cake is going to shut you down with that kind of conspiracy theory talk. I don't know. Has anybody had a Twinkie lately? I look to the young guys who I know have poor eating habits. I was going
to say, are you guys?
I thought they stopped making them at one point, didn't they?
They did, because didn't the company that was making them, they had to sell to another company, and then they had to figure out the ownership of the name Hostess, and there was a whole big thing went into that, if we remember way back. Because I'll be honest, I got really sad at that point in time because they're not any better for me, but I lost my Hostess cupcakes all at that time as well. And the
I was a big
were not
Snowball
as good.
guy.
Oh, I love Snowballs.
The cupcakes, I'll be honest, no shade at Hostess. The chocolate on the cupcakes never did it for me. It's that waxy, cheapy chocolate. Never did it for me. Twinkies were great because you could down them in one bite. It was almost like just a giant capsule. You
Snowballs.
And swallow it. But Snowballs were really good.
With the the coconut, and then the shell, and the marshmallow.
You got to go with the raspberry ones. So good.
Oh my
so
gosh.
Good. And then you get into, are you a ding dong or a ho ho person? Hostess crumb cakes, those little crumb cakes.
Oh, those are good too. Did you remember their little apple pies that they used to make? They were like handheld and
all the flavor. But you can tell that I went back on my diet yesterday because I'm like fantasizing about snack food. It's like, crumb cakes are making me way too excited. Uh,
I'm just watching the faces of our young producers that are like, what the hell are they talking about right now?
these guys have lost their
It
minds.
all sounds familiar, at least.
Dom, you cannot say anything. This is where we pull out the SpaghettiO conversation.
No, please don't do
Yes.
that. No.
Yes.
SpaghettiOs.
Dom's New Year's resolution is to eat fewer SpaghettiOs.
Yes, and I already failed on that resolution,
Of
so I'm
course
very,
you have,
very...
because they're delicious.
They are.
They are delicious.
Little known fact: Dom heats them over sterno in a closet, like he's riding the rails.
Doesn't even take
the lid of the can all the way off. He just spoons it in, risking danger and slicing his face as he shovels
Don't
the
listen to Brian.
SpaghettiOs in. Listen, I know what I'm talking about.
Do you warm them up though, right? Like you have to warm them up because there's a little unknown fact here that we're going to share right now. Hopefully they're sleeping and not listening. Your parents eat them cold right out of the can, correct?
That is 100% true. Yes, right out of the can, and they've been doing it ever since I was born. So, and I've tried it, and it's just not my thing. But I still love SpaghettiOs. I can't.
Are your parents on the run, Dom? And I don't mean that with any
they might be
disrespect. Well, do they not have time for heating? Do they have to? Are they being
busy?
pursued?
They're busy, but probably not as busy to warm something for a minute 30. So
microwave it takes 20. My parents are very busy. 20 seconds out of their day is. I don't know what you're talking about, Brian. That's ridiculous.
And they can walk away and come back to them too.
Nope.
There's things.
Jamie, now you're talking silly. Now you're just running on at the mouth.
All right. Well, everybody go enjoy yourself a Twinkie. A fresh one, by the way, not a 50-year-old one,
Stay away
preferably.
from 50-year-old snacks.
Don't do that to yourself. All right. It is 7:59. We'll have to talk about fading trends tomorrow.
Yes,
I think
trends
Twinkie Talk
tomorrow.
was much better. Twinkie
I
Talk.
enjoyed
That's
it.
what we can call it. That's what
Is
we'll
this
call
another
it.
bit? Twinkie
It
Talk?
might be. It might be. It might be. It is 7:59. Thank you for joining us on the Civic Media Radio Network. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Thanks for being with us. We will talk to you again tomorrow. Bye.
All right, live streams, same time, same place tomorrow. We'll see you later.